Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Welcome back. I hope your week is unfolding oh so beautifully well. We've got a bunch of business to attend to today. A great stream lined up. Quick preview on what's coming down the pike, and then we'll zoom in for further detail. But the big story on the day, something that a lot of the senators are very unhappy about, is being spied on. Now, they don't get too animated when we're being spied on. They're like, yeah, FISAT's important, blah, blah, blah. But now they're getting spied on. And so we're going to go through what the latest is on this and the reaction to this. We mentioned this yesterday, but it has since percolated throughout the political sphere. And so we'll take a look at the actual document, break down what it means. We've got some great summaries here from Just the News and the actual full release from Chuck Grassley coming up. But the big, really, response to this is what's so newsworthy about this, but a bunch of senators today were just lacing in to Jack Smith, the person who was facilitating all of this on behalf of the Biden corrupt administration. So we've got Marsha Blackburn here. We got a whole just litany here. Josh Hawley's coming up. Rand Paul had something to say. Base Mike Lee. Bill Haggerty was here. Lindsey Graham. Mr. FISA himself was upset about this because he got spied on. So bunch of roundup reaction on this. And the next question, of course, so what? Okay, you guys are all upset about this. You're just, yes, you got spied on. Yes, we're all sick of being spied on. It's a constant affair. But what are you going to do about it? Are you going to form another committee or send some additional letters? Or what is next? Of course, we've got some updates on that from John Thune, who is the leader in the Senate, and more reaction from Senator Kennedy, John Kennedy. And I always say John, and then I think it's not John because that was John F. Kennedy, but I guess it isn't. So John Kennedy is also demanding, I don't want to wait 24 years until we get some developments on this. And so we'll have a full debrief of everything that went down today as it relates to Jack Smith's corrupt spying. Then we've got some CIA declassified documents coming down. So CIA Director John Ratcliffe, the director for the President Trump, released this document, and look at all of this material that we're going to get to read. Not really. We'll go through it. We'll see what is inside. We've got some reports on what else is inside and adding some context to it. But Pam was in Congress today testifying about this on behalf of the DOJ. And so she got into it with pencil neck censured Adam Watermelon Head Schiff, who has been censured, by the way. And we'll see what Pam had to say in response to him. And then we got to talk about the census, baby. Remember that 2020 census that the Democrats keep saying? That wasn't intentional, but I liked it. Says the Democrats said, well, this was Trump's census. It was his in 2020. Oh, not really. All right. And now we've got Jim Banks, who is saying the 2020 census was a fraud. He sent this letter over to Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, saying, can you take a look and kind of dive into this thing so that we can have some new numbers? And we'll look exactly at what the U.S. Census said in 2022. If you're not familiar with this issue, and I wasn't, we can see that they stole from the red states and they gave to the blue states congressional representation. They undercounted and they overcounted, and the whole thing's a scam. So the question is, what can we do about it? We got some senators saying it's time to recount. And Ron DeSantis from Florida is saying the same. Let's get this puppy going because we've got some deadlines coming up. And it is Joe Biden's census because he's the person who actually acted upon it after the numbers were created. They got all the raw data for the 2020 census. And then Joe Biden's people are like, well, we're just going to not count those people, illegal aliens or whatever. We'll just put them over here, kind of tuck them over here. And they rigged the numbers. And so we are going to get into all of it. Very glad that you're here and joining us. And before we get into the business on the day, let's shout out to our newest sponsors on the show. And of course, as you know, it is Medicare annual enrollment season. Probably noticed it if you're looking for this stuff. You got a bunch of mailers, robocalls, text messages, all crashing in here. It's kind of chaotic, and that's really what they want. They don't make it easy. That's how they make their money. The grift is in the gray area. But the truth is, Medicare plans can change every year. In fact, in 2026, Part B premiums are expected to rise by about 11%, and many Medicare Advantage plans may disappear. And that means even if you're happy with your plan now, your costs could jump, or your doctor and your prescriptions could no longer be covered, which would, of course, not be good. Now, that's why today we're talking about Chapter, the only advisor that compares nationwide plans to find the one that truly fits your needs. And on average, folks who've used them have saved over $1,100 a year, which is nice. So the process quick, usually under 20 minutes, focused on giving you clear, unbiased advice so you can feel confident heading into 2026. Give them a call. The number is 212-784-6742. It's in the description as well. 212-784-6742 today. And you can speak with our friends at Chapter and get your Medicare affairs in perfect order for the upcoming year. And so we thank you for supporting our sponsors, and shout out to our friends at Chapter. All right. So now, my friends, can I get the one the illegals are using? Good question. Just give them a call. See what they say about that. Call them up. Hey, what's the one that's free where I can get unlimited health care for not, well, you got to be an illegal alien. Well, how do I do that? Great questions. All right. So we got a bunch of stuff to get to, my friends. Thanks for being here and for joining us. Let's get into the business on the day. Jack Smith and the Democrats busted. We saw Chuck Grassley posted this, releasing this one document that has a lot of implications, singling out the fact that the Biden administration, the Biden DOJ, Jack Smith, the entire lawfare apparatus, went hog wild to go and investigate anybody who could even be closely connected to Trump because they were trying to take out the political party that they detested. And so Grassley released this. We're going to take a closer look at the document itself. But here's what he posted over here on his Senate site. He said, you know, the Biden FBI, they spied on 8 Republicans, and they were Republican senators as part of the Arctic frost investigation. Grassley's Oversight reveals. He says, all right, this is an explosive document, America, obtained by Chuck Grassley over from Iowa. And he reveals that the FBI targeted 8 Republican senators, their personal cell phones, going after them. Some senators like, what? What do you mean my personal cell phone? Yeah, no, your personal cell phone, Lindsey Graham. For tolling data as part of its Arctic frost investigation. Now, one Republican member of the House of Representatives was also impacted. All Republicans, interesting. Now, the Arctic frost investigation formed the basis of Jack Smith's electors case, which was ultimately thrown out because Jack Smith is an illegitimate prosecutor. He was completely illegally and unlawfully appointed and should have never been in there in the first place. Now, the FBI in 2023 sought and got data from the senators' cell phones from January 4th to January 7th, 2021. A lot of senators are like, where was I? Was I in one of my foreign, affairs little field trips or somewhere? I'm wondering where they were. Now, this document was found in a prohibited access file in response to Grassley's oversight request. So they buried it, something you couldn't even look at. Grassley's oversight exposed the entire existence of this prohibited access files, which was a file system that was basically secret. Remember, we covered this. The FBI limits access to certain documents by making some files inaccessible. Like you search for them. It doesn't say we searched and we found 0 and return 0. Actually, it probably does that, but it does exist. Okay, so they're just saying, actually, you can't even search it. It's prohibited. So you look, is there anything in here about this? No, there's nothing in there because you believe that the query is searching and prompting all of the data. But it's not. And so we'll look at the document that was released. Chuck Grassley's been on this for a long time, and we're very happy to see this come out now. And it's like, once the senators have it happen to them, then they can spring into action. Then they suddenly will care about these issues. If they're spying on us, if it's FISA or whatever, they just constantly lecture everybody about how important it is that the government can look into your private affairs, your private cell phones. Well, we need it because of terrorism or whatever. Well, now they're getting scrutinized, and Lindsey Graham's probably sweating. He says he got hit. Bill Hagerty, Josh Hawley, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, Ron Johnson, a bunch of these individuals coming up, Cynthia Loomis, Marsha Blackburn, and Mike Kelly, right? Sitting senators. And they also, by the way, gobbled up Trump's cell phone. You remember that? The FBI's Arctic Frost investigation was opened in April 2022 by Timothy Thibault, the corrupt, in my opinion, former anti-Trump FBI agent who hated Trump and weaponized his office to go after the president and his political opponents, anybody who aligned with him. In November, after Trump announced he was running, then they just gave that entire file that was created by the Biden corrupt FBI and DOJ by this dude who was out trying to target Trump, and they just put it in a big box, and they gave it over to Jack Smith. And then Jack Smith is like, I'm a special counsel. I'm independent, and I'm going to do my own investigation. Like, that's the whole point, right? You don't just get to like copy and paste your partisan opponent's homework and call it your unique work product. It's not. He just took it, ran with it, colluded with the Biden administration. Okay, so they were the ones running the whole thing, and they tried to outsource. No, it's a special counsel. He's independent. He came over from Europe or whatever, and the whole thing was just inherited because it was a political attack, obviously. Now, that was in November. Then they appointed Jack Smith. New disclosures to Grassley earlier this year revealed that the FBI also got the government cell phone records of President Trump and Mike Pence. They went and got their government cell phones. Officials in the Biden White House personally assisted the FBI in getting those materials because this was a political attack. FBI agents used taxpayer dollars to travel the country, and they conducted dozens of interviews in support of the political probe, trying to go cast this dragnet over the right. Now, records Grassley made public last month showed the FBI also placed 92 Republican-linked individuals and other groups like Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA, which got scrutinized, and we covered those documents because they didn't like them. They were going after bank records and more. And if you remember, I mean, the list was just massive and monstrous. Here's what Grassley shared earlier. And we covered this at length, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it here, but it was just massive. This was all the people they were looking at and going into their banks, digging into their institutions. It was everybody. They just went hog wild. And, it's like, man, it's aggressive. We'd like to see something like this from Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. We hope that they're working on, creating lists of the Antifa funders and all the Democrat fraudsters who are saying that, oh, no, this money is going to be earmarked for nonpartisan purposes. We're a 501c3. No, we don't tax us. No, it's not. Okay, whatever. It's all, a bunch of lies and smurfing where they just gobble up fake addresses and then pay Democrat politicians little increments of money that all falls below the FEC's registrar. So here is one just target of the FBI and the Biden DOJ right here. Turning Point, TPUSA, baby. Put them on the list because they're enemies of the communist Biden and Democrat party. So Chuck Grassley released that. He also continues. He says, these also show more. You can see how long he's been on this. January 30th, February 3rd, underscoring misconduct. And we've talked about this. Remember, there were leaks about a lot of this stuff and the FBI investigating themselves like, well, I don't know how these all leaks are coming out. And it's just been a disaster. So here's what the document ultimately said. We've already hit the highlights on it, but officially coming from the Washington field. And this is related to CAST assistance, which I believe is referencing the technology, computer aided, whatever they call it, something with telephones or something. Okay, great. So CAST assistance. So we need some help on this one. Can you help us? So here it comes from the Washington field office, contact redacted, approved by a special agent here and another one over here. So two people, we'd like to know who their names are. Okay, who are those people? Are they still at the FBI? Who approved this? Special supervisory agent. Who is that? Two people. And who's the contact in the Washington field office? They know, but they're not telling us. So here, and we probably know. I mean, you could probably just go and find out who these people were in the Washington field office. It's a handful of them, probably. And, in senior levels. So I wonder who it could be. In Washington, Steve D'Antonio, was he one of them? Don't know. But here they tell us, Arctic frost, election law, sensitive investigative matter. So we need some cell phone assistance. What's the purpose of this document? Well, we're going to document the assistance from the spy team who's going to gobble up the telephone information. Here's what they write. FBI special agent, this guy, who is it? Conducted preliminary toll analysis on limited toll records associated with the following U.S. senators: Mike Kelly, Lindsey Graham, Bill Hagerty, Josh Hawley, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, Ron Johnson, Cynthia Loomis, and Marsha Blackburn. And it doesn't look like we have the House Republican, who was also a part of the target. So I'm sure there's much more. And Chuck Grassley has been doing a very nice job of kind of slow dripping a lot of this stuff out. As irritating as it is for us, he just keeps dripping these things out, you know, and he may be uncovering them in real time, but he's been on this for years. So, you know, we're going to get comfy on this from the Senate's perspective. But the question is, who were these FBI agents? Who are these individuals that made up a pretext for this and went to investigate this further? We'd like to know, and ask whether or not they're still at the FBI and whether they warrant any criminal charges for whatever conspiracy that they were involved in, colluding with Jack Smith, colluding with Timothy Thibault, and the rest of them. There needs to be accountability for that if they broke the law. That's all we're saying, because nobody is above the law. Now, we continue. Oversight Committee responded. So this is over in the House. They said that's for a different segment. So we're going to come back to that one on the CIA. Sorry about that. So here's more background from Just the News, saying bombshell document shows the FBI snooped on Congress, and Democrats were not wanting to talk about this today because they're much too interested in blaming the other side for weaponization, even though they spent 4 years trying to imprison, bankrupt, and disqualify Trump from all of the election ballots like lunatics. But there's more. Christopher Wray, of course, was also in office at the time, and they were all leading the investigation into President Trump. And they reportedly collected the private phone records of 8 Republicans and 1 GOP House member. And a source familiar with the matter, who declined to be named, told Just the News that the phone record search was conducted pursuant to a grand jury subpoena. Now, what do you need to get that subpoena? Like, are you having the grand jury vote on this? Let's see what they say. Chris Pihota, a former executive assistant director, said, yeah, absolutely. Wray must have been involved in approving this. To move to collect that information, saying he would have been briefed on it. He would have been given his concurrence, no doubt. Right. So it's like you're not. And again, it's not like tapping the phones per se. So they're listening in on Lindsey Graham's conversations. Like nobody wants to do that. But they're gobbling up data. Basically, they're trying to see whether the president was communicating with these people or if any other people that they were seeking to indict were communicating with them. The once secret FBI record that was dated late September 2023, so the investigation has been going, has the title of CAST Assistance, which is the Bureau's Cell Analyst Survey Team. There you go. Cellular Analyst Survey Team. That's the acronym for CAST. Now, Patel tweeted, thank you, Just the News. Patel tweeted on Monday this. He said over here from Cash, where was Cash's tweet? I skip over it over here. It's somewhere. Here it is. We recently uncovered proof that the phone records of U.S. lawmakers were seized for political purposes. That abuse of power ends now. Under my leadership, the FBI will deliver truth and accountability and never again be weaponized against the American people. Fox was reporting Jack Smith tracked private comms and calls of nearly a dozen GOP senators, and they're not happy about this. So here is more. And I just wanted to point this out too as well. So Svetlana Lokova at Real S Lokova has been doing some good reporting on this, saying, yeah, remember when all of this happened, Jack Smith was appointed November 18, 2022. And that document was just, you could see, drafted pursuant to Just the News, and the document itself late September 2023, right? So Jack Smith was the one behind it, and he probably approved it. Chris Wray probably approved it. Lots of people approved it. A lot of people are in the pipeline when this thing came down. So that's when he got appointed. And of course, saying he's going to be a career prosecutor, they keep saying that all the time. And every time they say career Justice Department prosecutor, like, okay, that person has to be fired because they're a career prosecutor. It's like, well, if you're going to be aligned with the institution and with the political ideology of the institution, then that's not a commitment to the law. And career prosecutors, career anybody, is going to have a lot of predisposition to be in alignment with the institutional interests and all of their friends and colleagues in these facilities. And you see this when they like resign. You just see how kind of deluded they are when they write these big ranting screeds or like, I'm going to leave, but before I leave, I just want to tell you what an honor it's been. And I'd like to explain to you how my life has gone since age 8 years old. You go, and they go on for like 15 minutes. And my mother was once, left me in a Walmart. And that's when I knew that I was in danger. And so danger led me to prosecute and get the criminals. Like, shut up. Just get your crap and leave. But Jack Smith was illegitimate. So they didn't put that in their little press release. They didn't say, he's a former career prosecutor. He wasn't a U.S. attorney. And so he was illegally appointed. He's not even a real boy. And he got, of course, his entire case in Florida dismissed because he's a total failure. Now, here's responses to this from a bunch of the Republicans who got hammered by their own government. And it's fun to watch them all come out and see how inappropriate spying is. Isn't that nice? So we're like, hey, hello, been screaming about FISA constantly. This is what this is. You're getting spied on without your knowledge, without a warrant, because some FBI agents got, just a grand jury to approve that you need this. And other agents are, finagling the data and the presentation. And I don't know exactly how this went down or how they got these data, how these records have, but I hope we find out a lot more. Who made the requests? Where'd they go? What grand jury was it? Who was approving it? All of the things. And so now the Senate, hopefully, is going to get activated. Is this going to make you mad, senators? She says, my statement regarding the Biden administration and the FBI spying on me and my Republican colleagues. Here's what she says. Man, this better be good. Hopefully she's not happy. I'm absolutely appalled. Okay, good start. That the Biden administration used the FBI to spy on the private communications of Republican U.S. senators, myself included. This was a blatant assault on our constitutional rights. Oh, man, as elected officials. Which is like, hey, man, we make that same argument with FISA. Okay, so I'm not going to keep screaming FISA constantly, but it's just kind of a little bit of schadenfreude, as they say. Hello, this is what we're talking about. We're not elected officials, but we have constitutional rights too, dang it. And this is a calculated attempt to sabotage the separation of powers. She says, make no mistake. This authoritarian, unconstitutional surveillance and attack on the legislative branch under the Biden administration demands immediate investigation and prosecution, and those responsible must be held accountable. Let's go. And we must ensure this abuse of power can never happen again. All right, so that's a good start from Cynthia Loomis. She's over from Wyoming. All right, nice. Yeah, could you imagine like a Senator Liz Cheney? Oh, my goodness. So shout out to Cynthia Loomis for the nice message. Now, Marsha Blackburn also responded to this, and she said this with Fox, very unhappy about this, saying, we're going to go after Jack Smith, and you know what should happen to him at the very minimum? In addition to being in prison, he should lose his license for unethical misconduct. And let's turn the audio on so that we can hear from Marsha.
Point soon, but we do know it's illegal. We do know it's a violation of our rights. And of course, Jack Smith is going to have to answer for this. I'm already working on a letter to the D.C. bar, a complaint letter to file against him. He should be disbarred.
Well, let me ask you this, Senator.
He should be disbarred, but is that it? You're going to write a complaint letter over to the D.C. bar? You know what the D.C. bar is going to do with that, Marsha? Right in the shredder. Thank you for your letter. Going to use that as compost later and for my parrots to poop on, because that's probably who's, over there. So at the DC bar, lots of parrots, lots of poop. So they need a lot of shredding. So here's Josh Hawley. He said, Biden's FBI spied on my phone calls and they tracked my location. But they didn't stop there. They also targeted parents, pro-lifers, and 92 conservative organizations like the Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. We need a thorough investigation, and there needs to be prosecutions. Much better than a complaint to the D.C. bar and the parakeet poopers.
Senate Judiciary Committee member just stepped out of that hearing. What did you hear from Dan Bongino
and the FBI last night on this?
Well, what I know, Bill, is that they targeted the DOJ, the Biden DOJ specifically targeted a group of us. They asked for our call records so they could see who we talked to, who called us. I believe also track our location over a period of days. This is outrageous. I mean, this is really unbelievable. It's blatantly unconstitutional. It's a violation of the First Amendment. It's a violation of the separation of powers. And it also goes to show you the extent to which the Biden administration was so corrupt, using the FBI to target their political enemies. And let's not forget, they didn't just do it to senators. They did it to school board parents who went and spoke up at those school board meetings. They did it to 92 conservative organizations, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. They tried to recruit spies into Catholic parishes. That's the kind of people we're dealing with here. Bill, we need a total investigation, a thorough investigation into everybody who was responsible. And I think there needs to be prosecutions.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So Josh Hawley, that's what we're talking about. So what will come next? Of course, we'll see, but we've got a lot more clips and reactions, and it's nice to have them animated, man, about this. And Josh Hawley did a nice job of actually tying it back to the people. Okay. A lot of them like, I'm a senator. You can't spy on me. We're like, hey, we're citizens. You can't spy on, we're private citizens. You can't spy on us without the proper requisite requirements. And they don't care too much about that. How many Senate hearings have we gone through here with John Cornyn or the rest of them? And they're like, I just want to be clear. Like, it's the only thing they care about. I just want to be clear. You love FISA, right, Pam? She's like, yes, Senator, I love FISA. You're like, all right, great. She's like, okay, good. Then I can approve you. Now they're getting spied on. And now they have to eat some of it, but I'm happy about it, actually, because now they're getting to see, kind of the effects of this. It'd be very interesting if like something leaked about who was doing what somewhere and there was actual consequences for this, for this data. Like, what did they find? Who was one of these FBI agents? Are they still there? Are they going to tell us or leak something that they found? I mean, that would really agitate the senators and they'd really spring into action then. If they said like Lindsey Graham was like out at 2 a.m., hanging out with like Zelensky somewhere, on January 5th, like talking about Ukraine, like having beers over Ukraine. He's like, he would be unhappy about that, right? If that came out publicly, that's what I'm saying. So Senator Rand Paul was also talking about it. He said, Biden didn't stop here. They also spied on members of Congress. His TSA, the Transportation Security Agency, tracked everyday Americans, that's us, under quiet skies. When he was VP, he got the CIA to bury intel that made his family look bad. Talking about that next in the CIA segment. Now, this government is weaponization at its worst. Every American should be alarmed. We are, Rand. And Rand's been very consistent on this, criticizing FISA and more. Mike Lee has also been very critical of FISA. We're happy about that. Says your government takes money from taxpayers and then uses it to lie and to spy on law-abiding citizens because they hate Republicans. Unacceptable. It's a good reason to clip the wings of any agency involved. Man, could Congress actually do something to like scale back the FBI or the CIA or any one of these agencies? Is this what it's going to take to get them to do something? This wasn't the first time this happened. We can't assume it'll be the last. Congress must fix this. So I hope you're a part of Congress there, Mike Lee. We're looking forward to your efforts. So here's more. Senator Bill Hagerty was one of the people who got spied on by the Biden corrupt government. And here's what he said in response. Jack Smith, an illegitimate, illegally appointed U.S. attorney, tracked my private communications and those of my colleagues during this witch hunt to investigate POTUS. This is exactly the type of political weaponization of the federal government under Obama and Biden that Republicans and President Trump have been calling out for years. We will get to the bottom of this, but every American should be shocked to see what happened here. And we're happy that they're shocked too.
Senator Hagerty.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. And Chairman Grassley, thank you for your leadership in making this happen. This is an extraordinary revelation that just took place this afternoon. My colleagues and I found out, all of us Republicans, by the way, that we were placed under investigation by this FBI, under the Joe Biden FBI that was led, I presume, by Jack Smith and his predecessors. This isn't the first time that it's happened, though. Senator Johnson just mentioned this. I served on the Trump transition team in Trump Tower in 2016. Senator Blackburn was vice chair of the transition committee then, as were probably a dozen or more members of Congress. To think that we were surveilled by the Obama FBI. This corruption runs deep, and it's gone on for far too long. And the fact that it's happened here again, the fact that they are looking at our records in 2023, sitting members of the United States Senate. Again, the only thing that we have in common, the only thing in common in this entire list is that we're all Republicans.
Uh-oh.
They've decided to come after us. This is as partisan as it gets. The FBI and the corruption that's running there has to be cleared out. Thank God we have Kash Patel and Dan Bongino there. This has to be addressed. It has to be resolved. It needs to happen today.
All right, we want names of everybody involved. What was the pretext, the justification? What were they alleging? Oh, these Republican senators, they were texting with Steve Bannon or something, okay? Or Enrique Tarrio. They were Oath Keeper affiliates or something. What was it that justified them going and gobbling up their phones? And man, I've never seen them so mad. Our privates, we're senators. You can't do that to us. That's what we've been saying, punks. All right, anyways. All right, I got to leave that one alone. But it's, it is horrific. And it happens to us. It happens to everybody. They just gobble it. Well, we need it because foreign terrorism or whatever. Lindsey Graham also said the same. From Crossfire Hurricane to Jack Smith spying on me and 7 other Republicans, the Obama and the Biden Justice Departments crossed every line. They weren't going to stop until President Trump and all of his allies were taken down. And this is a true statement from Lindsey. We watched it in real time. They tried to bankrupt him. They tried to throw him off the ballots. They tried to imprison him. They spied on his campaign. They imprisoned his closest allies. Bannon went to jail. Navarro went to jail. They went after 19 people in Georgia, including Trump. RICO or conspiracy cases filed all over the place to try to silence attorneys. They wanted to take their licenses away. There were cases in Arizona, I think Michigan, all over the place. It was insane. And they were spying on senators because this was a total attempt at a takeover of the government. And remember, back during the 2020 election, this was part of a much broader operation. Even in this most recent election, right? They were trying to imprison Trump, but even in 2020, we had the CIA colluding with the Biden campaign because they wanted him to win, to create fake talking points and write that 51 laptop letter. I mean, it's been going on for 3 terms now. And now it's finally coming out and the senators like, now we're mad. I can't believe they're doing this.
You wonder why we're looking at Comey? Give me a break. Why are we looking at Comey? Because he ran an FBI and personally knew about exculpatory information and let it slide. How in the hell can 2 FBI agents interview a man who says the document you're using against a sitting president to suggest he may be a Russian agent or Carter Page that is now no longer reliable? How does that not get to the court? Can you tell me how that doesn't get to the court? You can't, can you?
I can't, Senator, and I
Can
can't.
you tell me why my phone records?
Pam is laughing right here because, man, she's like, Lindsey's like on one, dude. You've never seen him this mad. They got my cell phone records. He's like, the hell happened? Super, super upset. And Pam, she can't even believe it. Look, she's like trying to hold it in here. Watch.
My phone records. When I'm the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, were sought by the Jack Smith agents. Why did they ask to know who I called and what I was doing from January 4th to the 7th? Can you tell me that?
Yeah, I know. And they're all just so special, right? So they all, like, where were they screaming when they were going after Kenneth Chesebro in Georgia or Sidney Powell in Georgia or any of these places? Okay, they were spying on them. They were subpoenaing them. They took Jeff Clark's license away or attempting to. He's appealing that stuff. I mean, they went after everybody, okay? It was like a dragnet. It was like scraping with a fine-tooth comb all of the Republicans. Penalties everywhere. They were demanding we be sent. I mean, the whole thing was like full-on onslaught, but they just don't care until it's their phone records. But we're happy that they're feeling a little bit of what we all went through. And I can't say that they spied on my cell phone records or anything, but they were definitely monitoring the channel and they were definitely demanding that we be censored and demonetized. We had videos flagged. I'm sure we had FBI goons over there just scouring our stuff, courtesy of the White House and Rob Flaherty. Like, we were all abused repeatedly by our government. They locked us down. The list goes on and on. But now the executive branch is spying on 8 senators. And it's like a level 5 meltdown of them. Even Pan can't believe it.
No senator, and there were 8 senators in total.
Yeah.
Man, that was a nice enunciation on that word. Thank you, Pam. So here's more. Coach Tommy Tuberville also got spied on by the Biden lunatics. Says, I expected that countries like China and North Korea would go after me when I got to the Senate, but I never expected it would be my own country under Joe Biden tapping my cell phone. Here's the coach.
Well, they just briefed us, Larry. Dan Bongino came over, deputy of the FBI. We had all of us in the room. This is the first we've heard of it. Obviously, I figured we would be somehow breached by China or North Korea, but not by your own government. This is all about Donald Trump. I'm an ally of Donald Trump. I love this country. The Democratic Party, the Biden administration tried to destroy this country. They tried to keep intact and contact with their enemies, so to speak, which was people that love this country, such as me and the other senators. But this is outrageous. They told us our phone numbers were breached, but we do not know that if there any content was added in there. It's the investigation just started. This is out of control. It's going to get worse and worse. It's again, I have nothing to hide. But Jack Smith,
So where is that data? What if they did get the content? That was my earlier point. It's like, what if somebody has that? Some FBI agent somewhere still in the Bureau has it? Or what if they're not in the Bureau and they still know about these things? They've got the private comms in their brains, kind of floating around, private intelligence, or at some Democrat law firm or something somewhere. Wild.
He has a lot to hide. He's trying to save his soul himself because he is deep into this, and he was trying to find some way to get out of it once he started going after President Trump.
Yeah. So the question is, how did they even get permission to go get this stuff, or what was the approval process with the FBI? Hearing some that they went to a grand jury, hearing some that it didn't maybe go that far. And maybe they got it without a grand jury. And did a judge sign off on it? Did they have to meet a probable cause standard in order to tap this data? Or is it just like a simple procedural request? Because you can go get subpoenas for all sorts of stuff without having a grand jury like vote on it, or without a judge will sign off on it, but you don't have to like, hey, I need this witness for what? My trial. Oh, all right, great. So you just need it. Here you go. Sign off on it. Judge signs off on it. What was the process? It didn't go to a FISA court, did it? And it may contain the content. Oh my goodness. Ron Johnson said, I also was just briefed by FBI Dan Bongino and the FBI. The Justice Department obtained call logs. So maybe not the content from 8 U.S. senators, including myself. We were surveilled simply for being Republicans. Okay, what was the pretext for it? Like, what were they saying? Did they question the election? Did they campaign for Trump? Were they communicating with some other person like Sidney Powell or somebody who was in the kind of the middle of it? We were surveilled simply for being Republicans, or is it just that? This does not surprise me, but it should shock every American. What the Biden administration has done is an outrageous abuse of power. It is blatant political persecution. Wow. Those responsible must be held fully accountable. This is just incredible. Yeah. I mean, Ron Johnson, by the way, has been very good on all of the political persecution. So he's not saying anything that he wouldn't ordinarily say. He's defended Trump and against all of the weaponization for a long time. So he's consistent on this, at least. Here is what Ron had to say. By now, it should be obvious that the Biden administration is posing a danger to our democracy, constitutional republic. Now, the latest example, Biden's FBI went on a fishing expedition and subpoenaed 9 of our records. Here's what he said with Fox.
In my 10 years of investigating the FBI, dating back to the exoneration memo of James Comey for Hillary Clinton, the result of all those investigations, this doesn't surprise me. It should shock, it should outrage every American. Quite honestly, by now, it should be obvious to every American that it's not the Republicans that are a threat to our democracy. It's President Obama, it's President Biden, it's the radical leftists that have served and support them. This is outrageous, what has happened. We did not learn much. I appreciate the fact that the director and Dan Bongino notified us of this and briefed us. What we know is that this isn't exactly like the partisans that remain in the Justice Department and the FBI are voluntarily coming forward and confessing their crimes. This just happened to surface when the individual who initially got these records in applying for recertification to this CAS team, listed this as an accomplishment. Apparently proud of the fact that this particular agent subpoenaed 8 members of the Senate and 1 House member. So again, that either shows just
what? So it sounds like some staffer or somebody put that on their resume. Some agent was like, oh, yeah, I handle all sorts of FBI special investigations. I worked on Jack Smith's investigation. And one of my key jobs was a tremendous success in succeeding in getting the cell phone records for 8 United States senators. Amazing job, right? Puts that in his CV. I'd like a job with you. What? That happened? How'd that happen? We would like to have an interview with you, actually. Come on in. Yeah, we'd like to talk to you about that. Very interesting point you made there.
A complete lack of knowledge on the part of that particular agent, or such a cavalier attitude inside the agencies that just no big deal of just totally violating the separation of powers here and surveilling members of Congress and busting that separation of powers. I mean, this is, again, it should shock, it should outrage every American. It'll probably shock and outrage about half of us. The other half are, again, just living in the daydream, quite honestly, believing what Democrats tell them.
Well, many of them don't operate with a sense of ethics or morality. They are communist materialists who think that the ends justify the means no matter what. They're okay shooting and killing people. They want more dead fascists. They screech about this in their little videos in the aftermath of heinous murder. And so what if the FBI weaponizes something? So what if anything happens, right? If the colleges brainwash people or there's crimes committed by the Biden crime family or whatever, doesn't matter. As long as it furthers their political ideology. And so spying on Republican senators, they thought that they were going to win. The whole end game was they were going to win. And so there's not going to be any consequences to them because they would just inherit the power and then could cover it up on the back end. And it is shocking. I mean, it's been shocking. We've been shocked here. It's like, okay, shocked again. I know we're shocked every day, but it's nice to see the senators meeting our level now. Welcome to the party, everybody. We're happy to have you here. So here's more from Josh Hawley. He says, we need a special prosecutor. Hopefully they appoint a real one. Who approved spying on U.S. senators? Great question. I want to know those names. They're all redacted. I'm sure it exists. Who signed off on Biden's FBI's anti-Catholic memo that targeted the Catholics? And who is behind the prosecution of Mark Houck? We need oversight hearings right now, and we need a special prosecutor, is what Hawley says in Congress today.
Here's what I think needs to happen. Madam Attorney General, I think we need a special prosecutor to be appointed whose sole responsibility will be to get to the bottom of what has happened in every instance that I have just named.
I'll volunteer.
I think we need to know exactly who approved the wiretaps from the United States
U.S.
senators.
appointed attorney.
Who knew about it? What agents were involved at DOJ or the FBI? I think we need to know exactly who signed off on the Catholic memo, the spying memo. Who was involved with it? How far did it go? I think we need to know exactly who authorized the prosecution of Mark Houck, who terrorized pro-lifers and tried to intimidate them. I think we need to know that, Mr. Chairman, this committee needs to do oversight hearings. We need to have thorough hearings into what has happened these last 4 years and this abuse that has now just been uncovered, because we have to ensure that it stops. As you just said, Attorney General Bondi, we have to ensure that it stops. This chapter in American history needs to come to a close, never to be opened again. The use of the most powerful law enforcement bodies in the world against ordinary citizens and political opponents must end once and for all. And we have a chance to do it, and it needs to be done with a thorough investigation, full transparency. And those who violated laws need to be prosecuted.
Yeah, and not many Democrats, if any, had anything to say about it because they're all okay as long as the government is being used to go after their opponents and make sure that they can win. They were hopeful, every one of them, that one of these Republicans could get knocked out. We'd find something bad. They'd get indicted, and then we could have another Democrat senator come in and take their position. So nice to see some response from the senators. Here is what the majority leader in the House, Senator and the leader, John Thune, had to say. All right, John, ball's in your court now, man. Drive this one home. I have grave concerns, all right, about a new report showing that the Biden-era FBI spied on Republican senators. And I fully support Senate committees getting to the bottom of this outrageous abuse of power and weaponization of the government. Thank you, John, for your very milquetoast statement there. Grave concerns. They spied on your colleagues, man. They would have put you on the list too if they could. So the committees will investigate, and I hope he dedicates some resources to that. So how much investigation will happen? What is the Judiciary Committee going to do? Senator John Kennedy was asking Chuck Grassley about this, and he said, hey, Chuck, hopefully this doesn't take 24 years to get to the bottom of this. You know what I mean?
Okay, if civil suits are filed against the perpetrators at the FBI, will that facilitate your investigation?
Well, what's the question again?
If the 8 senators who were spied upon sue the hell out of the Department of Justice and the perpetrators involved, will that facilitate their investigation and or yours? I guess what I'm getting to is I don't understand why we don't have a separate hearing. I find this breathtaking.
Yeah. It's just been 24 hours since the FBI investigated on it. Please give me an opportunity to sort through all this.
Fair enough. I just don't want to wait 24 years to get an answer.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to wait 24 years either. There, look at that face, man. I can relate to that. I feel you, John. Are we going to get some action on this? I hope so. So, shocking indeed. Although not that shocking. It's like, hey, senators, hello. This has been happening to Trump individuals and many others throughout this country for a long time. In fact, oftentimes they'll just talk about how much they love spying. How, like, FISA, we need it and it's okay. You're just a little American peasant, okay? You're not a senator. So you don't need your privacy rights. But we do, because we're senators and we're very important people. We're powerful. We're on all these committees. And so, but now they care. We're happy about it. We're happy that the truth is coming out. We knew that this administration, the Biden administration, was corrupt through and through. And now the senators are feeling some of the same consequences of their criminality. And so maybe this will be enough to spring them into action. We'll keep our eye on this one, my friends. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. Now, we're not done yet, my friends. We got the CIA drop. That is next. And here is what's going on with this one. Then we got the census as well, so stick around. But here's more. CIA declassifies some very interesting documents that show that Joe Biden is a cover-up artist and was doing everything he could to prevent this new document from getting released. In other words, the emails that we're about to see reveal that they don't and did not want a very damning report to come out. Here is what the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, had to say. Today, I declassified CIA intelligence regarding Ukraine after determining it is in the public interest. And not a lot of details. John Ratcliffe's a man of few words. So he just released the report to us. And here is what it looks like. Now, we're going to go through it. A lot of it's redacted. And so I wanted to take us to just the news for a quick update and context before we look into the document itself. Because here's what they're telling us. The Biden administration, the Biden team, blocked the CIA, the takeaway, from distributing a report on Hunter's corrupt Ukraine business. They didn't want it reported CIA was colluding with him. Then VP Joe Biden's team intervened in February 2016. So rewind the clock, elections coming up. Trump's running against Hillary. Biden does not want this coming out. And this is about perceptions about senior Ukrainian officials. So it's CIA reporting on internal conversations from Ukrainians that were talking about having met with Joe and Hunter. The request that the intelligence community withhold the report, a senior CIA official said, was extremely rare and unusual. We're going to read through it, but the report was compiling the reactions of senior Ukrainian officials who were responding to Biden's visit over to Kyiv. And remember, when Biden went over there, he said, well, I told him to fire this prosecutor. I'm not going to withhold $1 billion in foreign aid. And by gosh, they fired him. Remember? In the aftermath of the country's revolution and the Russian seizure of Crimea, Biden had been appointed by Obama to go over there. But the document shows that they were disappointed in Joe. He came over there and they had private musings about what went down. The trip to Kyiv from Biden was the subject of a lot of scrutiny because Hunter, if you remember, was working with Burisma at the time and getting paid $83,000 a month for knowing nothing about oil and gas. It was on that trip that Biden decided to alter U.S. policy. He said, we're going to ask you to fire this dude who was looking into hunty poo. The president said, I'm going to withhold $1 billion in a U.S. loan. And they fired him. And Biden bragged about it, remember? To protect his son. At the time, Shokin, the prosecutor, was probing Burisma and its owner. So they hired Hunty, who was the VP son, to get his daddy to put pressure on them, and they did. Totally corrupt. His son Hunter had just officially joined the board. Shortly before the vice president's trip, they warned that Burisma was corrupt. It's perfect. It's perfect for Hunter. That's why he was on there. Now, Piat later told his successor, Marie Yovanovitch, that he believed that Hunter's presence on Burisma would undercut the anti-corruption message that the VP was there to talk about. We don't want corrupt cronyism. We don't hire our kids and pay them millions of dollars, except hire my kid and pay him millions. But Biden's demands broke with the State Department and European assessments that they were concerned about this. And so he put the pressure on them to not release it, and they didn't release it. And so now CIA Director John Ratcliffe is publishing it to expose just how corrupt the Biden crime family ultimately is and was. And here is what got declassified courtesy of the CIA director. Top secret, now released to the public courtesy of the CIA. Gobs of redactions that we cannot see. So some other classification level here redacted, serial numbers redacted, intro paragraph or whatever this is about the CIA redacted. Now, here's more. Information report, not finally evaluated intelligence, still something here. Named recipient, only disseminate. So a lot of this is very repetitive because it's like they just want to, like they have like an 8-page limit. It's like you have to make your reports 8 pages. He's like, perfect. Let me just copy and paste a bunch of stuff here. So we'll go through it. Here's the latest. This is the country that we're talking about, Ukraine and the United States. They say this is the subject of this memo. It is non-disseminated intel information. These are the reactions of blank Ukrainian government officials to Biden's visit, to the early December visit of a senior U.S. government official. That's Joe. The date of this information, December 2015. They write in their summary, as of mid-December 2015, these officials within the administration of the Ukrainian president, Poroshenko, expressed bewilderment, which is a common thing when you're around Joe. Everybody was bewildered. I mean, he was clearly bewildered, but we were bewildered by how bewildered he was. Like, that's our president? Everybody's looking around. Are you sure? Yeah, man, that was real. That was real for 4 years. So they were bewildered even back in 2015. We had 4 years of being bewildered. I mean, we shout out to our Ukrainian friends over there. We can relate. And disappointment. We were also very disappointed. That is also true. To the December 7th and 8th visit of Joe Biden, to Kyiv, Ukraine. Now, after the visit, these officials assessed, from the Ukrainian perspective, that the Vice President of the United States had come to Kyiv almost exclusively to give a generic public speech, just ramble off. He had no intention of discussing any substantive matters with the president or other officials with the Ukrainian government. Because what's he going to talk about? He doesn't talk policy or anything substantive. He's there because his son needs them there to fire the prosecutor. That's why he's there. So he shows up, and this is all redacted. Would like to know a lot more about this, but that's just a summary. They issue a warning before we get into the details. They say, all right, listen, due to the extreme sensitivity, this report should not be distributed and should be distributed only to the named recipients. No further distribution is authorized without prior approval of the originating agency. Violations of established handling procedures are subject to penalty, including termination of access to this reporting channel. So don't share this. Any discussion about this report is strictly prohibited. Any references to this report in derived or finished intelligence should include this warning. So, like, don't talk about this. Here's the text. Redacted. Thank you. Point 1, they explain. As of mid-December 2025, these officials within the administration of Poroshenko, again, kind of repetitive, expressed disappointment with Joe and bewilderment. These officials highlighted that prior to the visit, the Poroshenko administration and other Ukrainian officials expected the U.S. Vice President, Joe, to discuss personnel matters with Poroshenko during the visit, and they had assumed that Joe would advocate in support of or against specific officials within the Ukrainian government. He just wanted one person to go, which is the person who is investigating his son. Now, after the visit, these officials assessed that the vice president, had come to Kyiv almost exclusively to give a generic public speech and had not had any intention of discussing substantive matters with their president or other officials within the government. Following the visit of Joe, these officials within the administration privately mused at the U.S. media scrutiny of the alleged ties of Joe's family to corrupt business practices in Ukraine. Dang. So they're all sitting around, and I don't know, man, the CIA has bugs or something. Like, what do you have the private conversations of the Ukrainian president? You're like, well, they're just talking. I mean, they were ripping on them. Privately mused. Okay, so they're sitting around. You know, Joe Biden came over here to lecture us about corruption. His son is working for Burisma. That's as corrupt as it gets. You know how much they're paying him? No, how much are they paying him? $83,000 a month. You're kidding me. And Joe wants the prosecutor who is investigating their corruption to be fired. All these Ukrainians sitting around their Oval Office talking about this. CIA's like gobbling it all up. Like, okay, perfect. Write that down. Put it in this report. These officials viewed the ties of Joe's family to corruption in Ukraine as evidence of a double standard within the United States government towards matters of corruption and political power. Oh, dang, son. They're coming over here and lecturing us about corruption while Joe Biden and his corrupt family are taking full advantage of all their positions of power. They're ripping him. You can just expect it. Because it's true. As it continues, they say, we've got some sensitive intelligence methods, which is how we gobbled this all up. That's why they've got the private conversations of Ukrainian government officials. Any transmission might be subject to criminal prosecution or espionage laws. And like, how do we get the data? Oh, it's like you got bugs in there or whatever, tapping that phone. So dissemination redacted. Top secret redacted. Here's more redacted. Classified, declassified, redacted. More redacted. And again, same stuff. Don't disseminate this. It's about Ukraine and the United States, and so many good details about what they said and what did they talk about. Yeah, no, Hunter comes over here. He's got like 55 prostitutes that he sees all over the place. He's paying, he's broke as hell. He's cracked out on cocaine, whatever, crack cocaine. And he's just told, whatever, goes on and on and on, on and on and on. And it keeps going. In late 2024, redacted, and somebody undertook something to review all current and historic databases of the blank intelligence reports processing system. So somebody in late 24 from the Biden administration did something to look at the databases During this effort, so-and-so identified the information that we found, which had been drafted in 2016 based on 2015 information. In reviewing the sparse reasoning left in the reviewer's comments at the top of this shell, as well as the private comment sections following the double dashed line below regarding why the report had not been disseminated at the time of collection, is all a bunch of nonsense, is probably what they're saying. It's all ridiculous. Why didn't you publish this? Why did you leave this like in a draft state and shove it in the draft bin in your email? Okay, because it's, nonsense. And nonsense and nonsense and nonsense, and we read it and we found it. Sounds like they just came across this. In late 24, somebody's looking and just reviewing the databases. And during this effort, this person identified this thing. That the CIA said, we just heard the Ukrainians talk about how corrupt Joe Biden is. Now, with respect to the FI-focused portion of the content, all agreed that while the information would have met the dissemination threshold, okay, so like this is good data. We heard the Ukrainians, we're inside their White House, and we got it. When they should have been disseminated contemporaneously when collected, like comes in, tell everybody about it. It did not add to the intelligence picture in 2024. Huh. That's interesting. Didn't add to the intelligence picture. Is that because it would have been damning to Joe Biden and very helpful to President Trump in the middle of an election? The sparse details provided, the fact that the information focused on perspectives of a previous Ukrainian government, they said, well, we got Zelensky now. We don't have them. It's old. It's just, and nobody wants to read this. It's like, it's so 2015. Who cares? So they just justified burying it, okay? But everybody else agreed, nope, we should have released this. It meets the threshold. We should have told everybody about it when we got it. But it didn't. It's cover-up. From who is this? Who wrote this? And who did that? All redacted, more redacted. Fast forwarding. As mentioned, along with the reviewer's comments recorded at the top of the draft, the comments and correspondence following the below double dash line are what had been included in the shell at the time of collection in 2016 and prior to this draft being found in late 2024. To our knowledge, no further context on the matter is known or available. So they just said, okay, so we got this report that the Ukrainians say that Joe Biden is corrupt. He just left. They say it's hilarious. He's corrupt. And it's valid. So they're writing a report. It should be, dispersed. So what happened? Why wasn't it dispersed? Well, here you go. Wednesday, February 10th, 2016, email, 10:18 a.m. from the Director of National Intelligence to somebody at the CIA, copying somebody else from the CIA. Director of National Intelligence, of course, appointed by the Democrats. In this case, 2016 February might have been Avril Haines, if I'm throwing a name out there. So she is representing Obama and VP Biden. And so somebody from her office sends an email February 10th to the CIA. She says, or this person says, it's a PDB briefer. So Presidential Daily Briefer. Writing from the DNI, who's preparing these reports, says, hey, good morning. I just spoke with VP, that's Joe Biden, and the National Security Advisor, and he would strongly prefer the report not be disseminated. Thanks for understanding. Signed, this dude, whoever that is, the briefer. Bury the story. Don't let it out. And guess who wanted it buried? The VP, Joe Biden, and the CIA abided. Okay, so they covered it up. They got an email from the White House, from the Director of National Intelligence, and they said no problem. So they just attached that email into the report, closed the case, never shared it with anybody, didn't go to Obama, didn't go to anybody. Biden took his failing grade that he had to show his parents off the stack. Didn't show them. Nobody could see. They never knew. Think their son's doing great. They're not. It's Joe Biden. So pretty interesting that we're starting to see these things. Obviously, it's just corrupt as hell. And this just goes on and on. I mean, the FBI covered up for Hillary Clinton. They covered up for everybody, for John Brennan, for James Clapper, for James Comey. And the list goes on and on and on. Oversight responded to this. They said this declassified report released by John Ratcliffe backs up our investigation that they've been working on for a long time into the Biden family's corrupt foreign business deals, saying Joe Biden ordered it buried. He would strongly prefer the report not be disseminated. And guess what happened in his final weeks? He pardoned Hunty. Feb 2016, it was Clapper. DNI was Clapper. Thank you for the correction. Was Avril Haines before that? Thank you for the correction. So it was James Clapper, even worse. Yeah, he's been around for a long time. And he was also in the intelligence briefings. So he's also saying, don't release the report. Yeah. And then in the Obama ICAs, the intelligence community assessments, then he's saying, per the direction of the president, he had his assistant, that makes sense, sign off on that and say, the president would like you to reinvestigate this. We think it's Russia. And of course, it's Joe Biden who's over there trying to reorganize the Ukrainian society to protect his crackhead son. Totally corrupt. And now we're getting to see some of the inside details on it. Now, Pam was asked about this by pencil neck censured Adam Shifty Schiff in the Judiciary Committee hearing today. And here is what Pam said right to his face.
Was no case. And Caroline Leavitt is one of the most trustworthy human beings I know.
So
and,
was she,
was she
right?
If you worked for me, you would have been fired. Because you were censured by Congress. You're lying with your
we can stipulate to, you can stipulate to all your personal attacks on the Democratic members of the committee.
Personal attacks. You've been attacking my FBI director. You've been attacking my office. You've been attacking.
But what we're interested in.
Borders are.
What we're interested in is the answer to these oversight questions.
Want your
you were asked by my colleague. You were asked by my colleague.
Attacking good people.
Regular order, Madam Chair, so I can ask a question.
Calm down.
You were asked by my colleague from Vermont whether you will support providing a video or audio tape, if it exists, of Mr. Holman taking $50,000 in bribe money from the FBI. Will you support a request by this committee to provide that tape or tapes to the committee? Yes or no?
Senator Schiff, you can talk to Director Patel about that.
Well, I'm talking to you about it. You're the Attorney General. This will be your decision. Will you support?
You don't have to tell me what is my decision and what is not my decision. I said you can talk to Director Patel.
You don't have to try to.
You think you've got a gotcha with Tom Homan, our borders are.
Excuse me.
Who's been out there fighting for our country since Donald Trump took office.
I'm trying to ask a question. Regular order, please. And you don't have to defer to the FBI director to pass the buck. So I'm asking you, will you support a request so that the committee, or indeed I believe the American people, should be able to see that video or audio tape? Will you support that request?
Will you apologize to Donald Trump for trying to impeach him?
I guess the answer is you won't support that request.
After you now know that Joe Biden tried to cover up Hunter Biden's involvement with you.
Let me do this because.
Well done, Pam. Don't answer their stupid loaded questions. If they're going to ask stupid loaded questions, just shove their own misconduct back in their faces. And Pencil was complicit in all of round one conspiracies against President Trump and helped to facilitate a lot of the criminality that went down on this. And his name wasn't a part of the spying operation. Isn't that interesting? They weren't spying on Pencil Neck. How come? It was only Republicans. It's because it was on behalf of these people. And so now Pencil looking a little bit nervous out there. Lots of documents coming out. And he had a big role on the House Select Permanent Intelligence Committee, corrupting and lying to America about the data that he was reading. So maybe he'll be subject to some scrutiny, and maybe he did some things outside of the confines of legislative immunity that might subject him to criminal prosecution. He had an auto pen pardon, which he can easily show in court and make his arguments that it's valid. Otherwise, seems like it's an auto pen, not valid from our perspective. Put the burden back on him and indict him for his crimes. All right, my friends, let's carry on. We got one more segment on the day, and then we're going to hear from you. And this is an important one because it's about our country's votes. and we want some resolutions on this. The census was a fraud. You remember back in 2020, President Trump was the president. Every 10 years, we have a new census that's supposed to be done. And in 2020, they were doing that. They were gobbling up all sorts of data. Well, Biden won the election after stealing it and then took power. And so they got all of that data, and then they came up with a conclusion for the census, and they gave us a rigged outcome. And now Senator Jim Banks is explaining exactly what's going on, saying it was a fraud. The administration of Biden used a shady, quote, privacy formula, that scrambled the data, and they miscounted 14 states. It included illegal immigrants, and it literally handed Democrats extra congressional seats. Americans deserve a fair count, and I'm fighting to fix it. And so some background on this, if you're unfamiliar with this issue, as I was, back in 2022, Census.gov, this is Census.gov right here. You can see we got dark mode going on, but it is the Census.gov website, and they admitted this in 2022. 2020 census undercounts 6 states, and it overcounts in 8. So 8 states, they say have more people, more congressional apportionment, more congressional seats in the House of Representatives. 6 states had undercounts, so they had less. Isn't that convenient? They said, we released our results on this thing, and we got some pretty big problems here. And here are the numbers. According to Census, these states had undercounts. Okay, so they're being stripped of people and congressional seats. Arkansas, 5 points. Florida, 3.5 points. Illinois, 2 points. Mississippi, 4. Tennessee, almost 5. And Texas, almost 2. As you can tell, it's red state, blue state, red state, red state, red state. So they were undercounted, which means if these next census results are accepted, they're going to be cheated out of apportioned congressional seats. And guess where the overcounts were? Where they say that there are more people than there actually are, so that they get more. It's the blue states: Delaware, Hawaii, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New York. Ohio's red, Rhode Island, and Utah's red. Isn't that interesting? Delaware, 5 points. Hawaii, 6 points. Sex Free Corono out there. Massachusetts with Maryland, man. Actually, that's Massachusetts. Maryland is not on the list. Minnesota, also. New York, 3 points. Ohio, 1.5. Rhode Island, 5 points. And Utah, 3 points. So that feels like it's a problem. And there was this great article that was written over from the Ed Meese Center for Legal and Judicial Studies. And they gave us a background after reviewing that report. And this is what the Senator Banks is now jumping off of. And so here's what they told us previously. They said, this was a shocking report, okay? They just admitted 14 states are problematically counted. And those mistakes were costly. To put the scope of these mistakes in perspective, let's contrast the errors in the Census Bureau's latest recount with a recount from a decade ago, in which there was a net overcount of 0.01%. Okay, historically, the last time we did this in 2010, we got 36,000 votes. 36,000, it's statistically insignificant. So then when the Biden people come in and they start to crunch the numbers, it's insane. The result of these errors, guess what is going to happen now? Florida is not receiving 2 additional congressional seats. Texas did not receive 1 more congressional seat. Meanwhile, the blue states, Minnesota and Rhode Island, they each retained a congressional seat that they should have lost, and Colorado got a new seat that they didn't deserve, stolen from all the others. The harm flowing from these mistakes impacts more than just representation. It's a lot. Because the Treasury and other federal departments are going to continue to use these numbers, these errors will affect $1.5 trillion in funding. And it's going to go to these states. It's all apportioned based on population. So it's a disaster, obviously, and they rigged it. And it includes a bunch of illegals and other people who shouldn't be included. And so now this senator wants some answers. He sent this over October 6th to Howard Lutnick, Secretary, U.S. Department of Commerce. He says, all right, Howard, listen. I urge you to investigate and correct the errors from the 2020 census that handed disproportionate political power to Democrats and illegal aliens. The census adopted a new and an opaque methodology called differential privacy, which by design scrambles the populations of the states and the voting districts. As prepared by Biden, the 2020 census reports miscounted the population of 14 states. They wrongly allocated 6 congressional state seats stolen and electoral votes. Those count too, because your electoral votes are a combination of how many representatives you have. Now, the reports may also have miscounted the population in a number of voting districts, And the reports definitively included illegal aliens, obviously, without tracking their citizenship status. And so if left uncorrected, the senator says these errors will continue to dilute the power and voting power and percentages, basically, of American citizens. Now, census data, he says, plays a crucial role in allocating political representation and government funding. Under the Constitution, each state gets congressional representatives, and the Electoral College votes are based on the whole number of persons within the state. The number of persons is, in turn, established by a constitutionally mandated decennial census every 10 years. Federal agencies rely on this to allocate billions of dollars in funding, and much of it hinges on population, which is why the sanctuary cities wanted their cities invaded, because they get more federal money. Now Trump's cutting it off. They can pay for it themselves and will continue the deportations. And the Supreme Court has held that these must be equal within a state. Now, the integrity of the American political system depends on knowing exactly how many people are in each state. In the past, the Census Bureau have gotten those numbers right without statistically significant errors. They didn't rig the numbers, unlike the Biden administration. And he continues, but in 2020, they did. They made widespread errors. These errors happened for various reasons, but in part because the Census Bureau published census data using a new methodology that intentionally miscounted the population and hid demographic data. We don't have good numbers. The methodology, differential privacy, injects noise into individual voting districts that are called blocks. Differential privacy achieves this by randomly changing some correct demographic data into false demographic data in order to make it impossible to guess their identities. Kind of like anonymizing the data. Bureaucrats have been architecting differential privacy for over 20 years, and the Biden administration used the methodology to interpret the 2020 data. Now, this privacy thing is opaque, and it's liable to mistaken count totals. And sure enough, the 2020 census overcounted the population in 8 states and undercounted in 6. The most extreme undercount, Arkansas, 5 points, 5%. Largest overcount, Hawaii, 6.7%. So as a result of these errors, Democrats got at least 6 congressional seats and 6 electoral votes, and they still lost. Now, as problematic as the 2020 census was for apportionment, it may have been disastrous for redistricting. Differential privacy alters the total population of the voting districts, and they may even be illegal. The worst part is that we don't even know how many voting districts are problematic. A file containing the original unaltered census data exists, but only a few bureaucrats have access to it. It's crucial that you republish the census using the raw data so that states have a clear picture of their voting districts to be accurate and not disproportionately benefit one party. Now, it's also crucial that the Census Bureau take steps to ensure that in 2030, it doesn't allocate power to illegal aliens. Counting illegal aliens as part of the population means that states with more illegals get more government funding and more voting power. States with sanctuary cities benefit the most, which is why they're doing it. It's not to help illegals or because they're, concerned about migrants in America. There are some of those people. But the bureaucrats in charge ultimately want money and power. Now, Although the Supreme Court stopped the Trump administration from requesting citizenship and excluding illegal aliens in the census, the decision was purely procedural, and it didn't address whether individuals who are in the country unlawfully may be excluded from the census at all. Now, there is credible argument that the framers of the Constitution designed the census to cover lawful inhabitants and not those who are here illegally. At the very least, the American people and their representatives deserve to know how many people are here unlawfully. They don't want to tell us that number. Everybody guess, 10 million, it's 20 million, it might be 30. Maybe it's way more. But we need to know. Differential privacy cannot be used to mask this data. So to this end, I ask that you respond to the following questions. Please, Howard Lutnick. Does the Census Bureau intend to republish the 2020 census data results using unaltered data so that states can fully understand apportionment and districting errors? Hopefully. Republish it. Let us know. What measures are you at the Department of Commerce and the Census Bureau taking to correct the errors of 2020 that led to improper theft of apportioned congressional seats? And does the Census Bureau intend to abandon this little scam called differential privacy in 2030 and actually accurately count the votes? And finally, does the Census Bureau intend to request the citizenship status of illegal aliens in the 2030 census? Thank you for your attention to this matter. And sneeze averted. That was close. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, Jim Banks, U.S. Senator. All right, man, that was a close call. So, very nice letter, obviously true. And this is part of the trifecta. They wanted to flood the countries, have more anchor babies, citizens who are birthed to illegal aliens to make them one, cohesive conglomerate. Now you've got voting citizens who care about their parents who are illegals. So they vote for policies that are good for their illegal alien parents and their friends. Of course, they wanted the border to continue to be flooded. We had Republican senators saying, we want 4,000 to 5,000 a day. Then we'll start to care. Now it's 0 a day. And of course, they want congressional seats and electoral votes and federal funding. And they rigged the numbers like they rig everything to try to accomplish that. And Ron DeSantis is also on this. He says, can you get going on this, Howard? Please take action soon so Florida can include the extra seats we are due in our mid-decade redraw of the congressional map. So they're going to have to they're going to start going through this. Florida is underrepresented because of the Biden administration's chicanery. Good word from Ron DeSantis. And we're happy to see this conversation now come to the forefront. We've been talking a lot about how sanctuary cities are just basically trying to bring in illegals to steal your money and your votes and suck off congressional representatives who then have new districts there that are filled by illegal alien sympathizers. Not good for our country. Senator Jim Banks now demanding we do something about this from Indiana. Of course, we'll keep our eye on this one. We'll see what Howard Lutnick and the Trump administration have to say on this, but hopefully more is coming down the pike soon from the White House. We'll be here to cover it. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, my beautiful friends. What an amazing stream it has been. If you're just joining us, quick recap on what we talked about. First of all, Jack Smith is now busted. His little scam operation is responsible for spying on 8 U.S. senators, and they're not happy about it, man. We've never seen them so fired up. It is nice to see when it comes into their home and into their cell phones, they spring into action. Loomis, Blackburn, Hawley, Rand, Mike Lee, this dude, Bill Haggerty. We've got tons of people. Lindsey Graham was as mad as you've ever seen him today. They got the contents of my phones? I don't know, Lindsey. We're going to have to wait and see. We don't really want to see what's in there. Ron Johnson. We had more from Holly and Thune and, of course, Kennedy, all at the start of the show, all very unhappy with Jack Smith and the Bidens spying on their personal cell phones. Bad behavior. Then we talked about the CIA's newest release. John Ratcliffe dropped this one today, fresh out of the oven for us, and we read through it. Lots of redactions, but the ultimate takeaways down here at the bottom, where we saw that Joe Biden says specifically, I don't want this report coming out. because it's going to be devastating for me. And the CIA obliged because they're part of the disgusting cover-up. Oversight's in on it. Pam Bondi saying, hey, pencil neck, you know you were censured, loser. And then we heard from Jim Banks. He says the census was rigged. It was fraudulent. Clearly it was. And we should not be counting non-citizens for our governance. It's ridiculous. So now, my friends, it's been a beautiful stream. Now it's time to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for sending in your support, your love, your donos, and for being here. Thanks for subscribing if you haven't already done so, so that we never miss you again. And you always come back constantly. Let's see what we've got. We got some, oh my goodness, we got so many new membos today. Whoo, we're going to be welcoming in a bunch of membos. Excited about that. We had a great members only stream this morning. What the heck we talk about this morning? Oh, we covered a bunch of stuff live. We were listening to Pam. Trump had Canada in today, and it was a jammed morning. It was jammed today. So shout out to our members. That's what we talked about this morning. And we're going to have an after party. So we'll see you very briefly to debrief on the day. Let's see who's here. We got this one. Shut down. Yeah, the shutdown continues. We haven't even talked about that today. Katie Donat. What's up, Katie? Welcome aboard. Thank you for supporting us as our newest supporter. We'll see you on the after party in a minute. Harold Greer. What's up, Harold? Thank you for bringing in 10 new Membo friends. What's up? Carol Morrison. Dog backwards is God. Jimmy Baker. Great to have you. You got Crazy Redneck Woman. Welcome. We love Crazy Redneck Women. Karen O. Greg Erickson. Matthew Larkins. What's up, Brayton Siddell? Jason Green. CV Grady in the house. All courtesy of Harold Greer, bringing in 10 new membos. Thank you, Harold, for doing that. Welcome, new friends. Ostpack says, okay, here's a little funny story to lighten the mood. Says, living in the U.S. is great, from Ostpack, and sometimes intentionally funny. Today, for example, I was having a discussion in the aisle at Safeway where I mentioned to the lady that normally does my pickup orders that I hosted the son of a mate from decades ago in the Australian Army. Random person behind me says, you know, I always wanted to go to Austria. Well, Australia, he says, is not Austria. Person stares at him with a blank face. He says, think kangaroos, not the sound of music. The random person says, oh, sorry. Yeah, so was that Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber? Isn't that a scene from Dumb and Dumber? Like literally, she's like, I'm from Austria. He's like, good day, mate. Let's go put some shrimp on the barbie. And she's like, what the hell are you doing? I think that's literally a scene from Dumb and Dumber. So your life's basically a movie. And welcome aboard from Australia, the land down under. Trinal Galaxy, what's up? 3 months as a member. That's 1/3 of the way to a baby. Says, so Dems can spy on Republicans, but they are the victims. Well, that's just how they are about everything. Yes, they're so oppressed and everything's so hard and the patriarchy and racism and whatever. And they need to spy on the Republicans to save democracy. Because if they don't do that, we're all going to die because of fascists. Rhonda, thank you, Just Rhonda, purveyor of fine emojis. Bringing in 10 new membos. Jonathan Shelley, welcome. Biz is here. Grandma's Garden, welcome. Ricky D, Teddy and Friends, Glinda Cohn. What's up, Steph Ard? We got 2 Cents Lopez, Dale Davis, and Relics in the house. Great to have you. Just Rhonda, thank you for bringing in 10 of our newest friends. Chetty Mo, 16 months as a membo, coming up on 2 babies. Good to see you, Chetty Mo. Watchers are the best, just saying. Well, it's because you're here with us, Chetty Mo. You increase the best levels when you're here. We're grateful for you. What's going on? This one from Sev Russ. What's up, Sev Russ? With a penguin and stacks of cash, baby. Good to see you, Sev. Otto's here. John H., welcome. Hangman, 420's here. Brian Bentley and 2 little kittens are here, too. Isn't that nice? Sev Russ, thanks for bringing in 5 new membo friends. New friends, thanks for coming aboard. Mock Schnell. Hey, Rob, 11 months as a membo. Almost happy anniversary to us, Mock Schnell. Thanks for being here. So, Rob, my friend going to be away for a while, as even though I got excellent on my performance evaluation, they did ask what I was doing at 9 to 10 from 9 to 10. That's when we go live in the mornings. You get in trouble? Did we get you busted, Mock Chanel? Like, you're using a lot of bandwidth on YouTube during the 9 to the 10 o'clock hour. What is that? It's research. You're doing research. You're learning. It's self-improvement. We're learning about what's happening in the world. You're doing it for your company. And it should be mandatory, actually. You should invite everybody in your company. You guys want to learn something about the real world? Come join us. Thank you, Mock Chanel. Bringing in 50 memos. What a nice farewell gift. Thank you, Mock Chanel, for bringing in 50 new. We're going to miss you, but we appreciate you being here. Asa Yeti bringing in 50 new members from our friend Mock Chanel. Asa Yeti, Tall Walls. What's up, Carlton Van Hoy? Glenn Cummings is here. We got Jen Ranch Girl. What's up? One Jump Bob. Steel Manning. Russell Flynn. Plain Truth. We got J.M. Sparger. Sue E. Generous is here. Paste is tasty. Sam Watson. Let's go, Brandon. What's up, Jason Allen? Doug Arant. We got Casey Atho. Black Horse Cavalry. Anything Goes is here. Hey, it's Paul Mino. Good to see you, Paul. Brian Rickard. What's up, Andrew Davis? Haley's Comment. We got Dillard's. J.H. Swalback. What's up, Backsplash on the Nuts? Sega Sonic. What's up, Bill Putnam? Jonah Ryan. Robert Arthur. We got Giovanni Bragelia. What's up, Mike Clavel? Scott Wynn. We got Sue. Aaron Hack. Zuzu Thorns. Azure Sky. Robert Bendler. What's up, Rooster? Joel Zuderveen. Brian Gibson, The Notorious Network, Crosby's Gaming, Ritz is here, Filtered, Mel, Tuffy, Hayden Gray, The Whispering Monk, and Clyde Orris, all gifted membos, courtesy of Mock Schnell, who is bidding us bon voyage because he got busted at work. Lilu Dallas Multipass. What's up, Lilu? Hey, my sincerest thanks for making the legal jargon mumbo jumbo fun. I truly appreciate you wading through the muck and mire for us. You just make me laugh. Lilu. What a nice comment. It's an honor. I mean, I really enjoy our time together. I feel like I learn a lot. I feel like we're exploring the world together, trying to tease out the truth. And it's a journey. Lilu, thank you for the generous dono. Thank you for naming yourself Lilu or being named Lilu. It's a beautiful name. And it's a great film. I've seen it a lot. I've seen it a lot. And I appreciate you being here, and thank you for the great comments and for always supporting us. We appreciate you a lot, so thank you for that. Lilu Dallas. Just Lilu, not Lilu Dallas. That's in the movie. My Alaskan Girl. Hey, thank you, My Alaskan Girl. 6 months as a member, 2/3 of the way to a full baby in the house. Says, love your coverage on everything. Thank you, My Alaskan Girl. That's nice of you to say. Some people don't. What's up, Knox? So thanks for saying it. Hey, Knox Bierman. Hey, happy Tuesday, all. Good to see you, Knox, defense attorney in Texas. Gee, she says, a little tear came to my eye when I saw that senators were being spied on. LOL, welcome to our world, punks. I know, it's like, I can't even take it serious. Like, oh, now you're mad. Got it. So everything we've been screaming about for like decades now, you're just like, they're spying on us? This is outrageous. You're like, okay, it's like better late than never. At least they're coming aboard. Okay, fine. World's smallest violin, as they say. Lindsey Graham, I can't believe this is happening to me. Chubby, what's up? It's too bad these senators can't get this upset when the same thing happens to regular Americans. No, they don't. They go the other way. I mean, how many hearings have we had here? I remember the one. It was like a FISA hearing specifically. And I remember we were sitting here and we were watching like John Cornyn like twist himself into a pretzel. Yeah, but it must, I think it was probably Pam's confirmation or maybe Cash's confirmation. Like the first question, you're not going to get rid of FISA, are you? We need that for terrorists. Oh, so you need to spy on Americans in order to go get the terrorists. We got it. King of Biltong. Did you know we also specialize in imported foods and candies? Did you, my friends? Over at Biltong USA, they do. Check out Biltong USA for a great selection of imported food and, of course, Biltong, which we know is packed with vitamin C, D, and creatine. Code Robert, 10% off of Biltong. Thank you, King of Biltong, for the nice dono. Get your Biltong, my friends. Hey, this is a peso. Elliot Franco, you're watching from Colombia? Man, that's cool. Thank you for sending in a dono from Colombia. It's the Colombian peso, the COP. Donut, thanks for looking that up. I don't know the currencies very well, so Donut's giving me an assist over here. Thank you, Donut, for that. Brian Bishop says, Dems are now the party of terrorists. Hashtag lock them up. 13 months as a membo. Baker's dozen. Yeah, they're now the party of terrorists. Well, I think that's largely true. I mean, they're terrorizing a lot of individuals all throughout the country. The question is, will Trump, he's made some declarations on Antifa and stuff like that. So the Dems can disavow those things. Otherwise, they're complicit. NY, what's up? Wait a second. Why is this a subpoena? Exactly right. Yeah, it's not a search warrant. It's not a FISA, as far as we know, it's not a FISA court warrant. It's a judge or somebody signing off on a subpoena, or maybe it's just a records request. They didn't give us many details. Jack Smith was using another court case, Trump's, to get access to other senators' records. Should it not be a search warrant with an accompanied affidavit? Totally confused. Yeah, no, I would argue it should be. You should have at least, at the bare minimum, like some judge, probable cause, make a full showing, say what you want with particularity and specificity, and get a determination from a judge. But it doesn't sound like that happened. So I don't know the details on it, to be honest. And they don't know either. I was searching for it. They don't know. Even we heard from Ron Johnson. He's like, I just got talked to by Cash and Dan. Like they didn't even tell us. So how'd they get them? Was it a records request? Were they complicit? Was it a subpoena that went through a judge? Was it in the middle of a grand jury proceeding? If so, for what other case were they working on? Was it the Trump case specifically? We're all a little confused anyway, but hopefully more is revealed soon. Chubby, I just have to give a little pushback about your comments on Rand and Ron Johnson. We love that. It says the only thing they've been consistent on is expressing verbal outrage in front of the cameras. But absolutely nothing has been done to these people, so I wouldn't give them very much credit with their blatant inaction. That's absolutely true. Yeah, I think the reason I was kind of nice on Ron, let me finish your comment. Just seems like it's all show from every single one of them. I'll likely faint if the GOP ever does anything more than just investigate and condemn. We need to see repercussions. Yeah, justice, baby. We want justice. And I think with Ron, it's like, there's some people, it sounds to me, who are like calling out the weaponization. Like now, like, I can't believe the FBI was weaponized to come after me. Yeah. We've been talking about that for years now. I think Ron has been pretty consistent in calling it out. A lot of them, others haven't, right? Like the Lindsey Grahams and them, the reason we give them a hard time is because they always try to do like the folksy middle of the road person. Like, I'm the reasonable person in charge. And so like when Trump's being prosecuted, they won't come out and call it political prosecution until the very end, until it's, beyond the pale. But for the most part, most of the Republican politicians are like, well, we'll just wait and see what the courts say. That's why we have the courts. We'll just let the grand jury do their investigation. Jack Smith, we'll see where it goes. All this. He was illegitimate and corrupt from the beginning, and they should have been calling him out repeatedly. But you're right. I mean, they just sit around and they just pound the table. It's all they're doing mostly. Pounding the table. If they were Democrats and they had all three branches of government, we'd all be in gulags, man. Maybe not all of us, but I would be for sure. Mock Schnell. And, many of you don't deserve those things. Hey, Mock Schnell. Dave M. Plantation Sensation. J-Dog coming in. Mock Schnell. Thank you. Even more membos? You're just amazing. J-Dog. Ter Lael. What's up? Anit Nunez. We got Josh McCarty. Joe Lasher. What's up, Kyle Vaughn? Shaggy Day 70. Huckleberry Squid. Unraveled Mind. Reality is Hard. Metal Jake. We got Cindy Beamer. Gritty Gret. Wuxia Games Central. Tony Munz is here. Mel, what's up? The Ted Bear. And David Carleon. All gifted membos, courtesy of Mock Schnell. Another parting gift, courtesy of our friend Mock Schnell. Thank you, Mock Schnell, for that and for being here on your final day. Member for 39 months, Curtis Bartle. Thanks to Trump and Elon, the commie swamp is draining. Make America great again. Yeah, I think we're starting to see some developments on that. I mean, the more of this we see, we want to see like everything they did to the senators, because it really agitates them, and maybe we'll see some action in response. Curtis, thank you. The Rubos are here. RubosSaltShop.com. Says nothing new. Remember the Awan brothers hired by Debbie Wasserman Schultz? Yeah, they installed IT servers in all of Congress, and they leaked info. Congress seems to have forgotten. This is from fullmeasure.news, a news site. It says, when it comes to cybersecurity scandals, as tough as Congress is on private companies like Equifax and Facebook, you might be surprised to learn that they've been quietly dealing with a scandal of their own. Some claim the most important investigation you've never heard of in D.C. It involves the FBI Inspector General, 42 members of Congress, and 5 Pakistani American IT workers. So it's like a Hillary Clinton email server, but it's in the basement of Congress, and all the senators and all the Congress people are like, yeah, that sounds good. We'll just use it. Interesting story. I had not seen that one. Thank you to the Rubos. Debbie O, all 9 R's who were spied on voted in April 2024 to reauthorize FISA. You did the math. You looked it up. So F them and their outrage. But yes, let's definitely fix it, from Debbie O. That feels right. I didn't look them up, all 9 of them. But they all do. They're like, well, we need it. And we're just regular old peon citizens. Like, we mean nothing to them. But if it inconveniences them a little bit, or their privacy, this is a separation of powers problems. Okay. So in order to get privacy protections in America, you have to run for office and be elected. Or not. Yeah. Dark Rogue, what's up? I'm still a baby bump. Yeah, but you look beautiful. You look beautiful. You're growing every day. Dark Rogue, 4 months as a membo. Great to have you here, Dark Rogue. Thank you for that, for being here for 4 months. New baby coming soon. Just Rhonda says, hearings, and then what? More of what we've been seeing? No, thank you. Arrest, indict, prosecute, incarcerate. AP. AIPI. Yep. Arrest, indict, prosecute, and incarcerate. Yeah, nobody's above the law. We want justice, Just Rhonda. And hopefully we get it. Dark Rogue. Sorry I've been away. Started a new job site, and it's a 4-hour round trip, man. It's a long one. I watch your post when I get home to catch up. What are the odds that Trump invokes the Insurrection Act? I would say low. I don't think he will. I mean, at what we're seeing right now, like if we lose total control, then maybe. But I don't think he wants to do that. And I don't think he needs to do that exactly. Like he's winning a lot of these National Guard battles, not at the low end, as we've seen yesterday. But I think he's ultimately going to win on the current law. Like, it's insane that a district judge is saying the president can't send the National Guard to federal properties, which is what she's saying. So, and again, I don't think Trump wants to ultimately use the military as kind of, local law enforcement, but he definitely wants to arm up and protect the deportations and the ICE facilities. So I'm not sure he needs it. I think it might be a little bit too much political blowback for that. And I don't think that he needs it. So I'd say probably low. But if things continue to get out of control, maybe. Zone Girl. We need to use this shutdown to cull through the Department of War, FBI, CIA, Secret Service, IRS, to cut and fire all of the evil embedded DEI and the Marxists out of these agencies, clear them out. I couldn't agree more. And they're kind of one and the same. Like, the DEI are the Marxists. The Marxists are DEI. Especially the 800 new IRS who are armed to come after us. Use the shutdown and get rid of the evil that exists in these institutions, from Zone Girl. What's up, Mock Schnell? Thank you, Zone Girl. Mock Schnell. Rob, you're the best. You enlightened me on lots of things over the last few years, but VA management is tracking our time and use now, Dave, very strictly. So going to have to be away for a few months. Best wishes. Man, we're going to miss you, Mock Schnell. Thanks for working at the VA, managing things over there and taking care of our troops, the men and women who need the services. Awesome to have you here. Hopefully you watch us on repeat and we see you when we can see you. But we understand. We don't want you to get fired for watching the show. Bruce Rice, baby. What are the odds of 4 people all having children working for Ukrainian gas companies? Yeah, is that true? Romney, Pelosi, Kerry, and Biden. It's like nepotism for politicians. Bruce Rice, baby, says this is the border fence Mexico built on their border with Guatemala to keep out the freeloaders. Notice the barbed wire and towers with armed guards. Shouldn't the United States have the same right as Mexico to protect its border? Absolutely. Yeah, it's our border. We should absolutely control our border. And we're actually getting a handle on it. Doan says, Bondi treats Schiff Like she knows he's going down hard. It's funnier than Schiff. Yeah. You're going to get indicted, okay? We already got all your files, so stop getting so ornery up there in your little perch up there. This old guy. So if they already know that 14 states were miscounted and they know how much they were miscounted, why can't they just adjust the numbers to match the miscount percentage? All fixed, no miscount. You're very welcome. Man. Yeah, hopefully Howard, if you're reading this, just do this. Howard Lutnick. You out there? Howard. Somebody tell Howard, just update the numbers, man. It seems pretty simple to me too. So I don't know what the, like legally, I don't know what the mechanism is. Like once it's finalized, is it final? Can you redo it again? Can Trump like just reprocess the raw data? Or is it done? Like, is the assessment done? I don't know the answers to those things, but it sounds like Jim Banks is trying to get answers to those. Can we make some adjustments right now? Hopefully we see. Jedi Trump, what's up, Jedi Trump? Thank you for the dono, and thank you for being a membo. These are not the Republicans you're looking for. Sean the Artist, formerly known as John Cusack, or Cucksack, or Cuckask. LLM. 4 months as a membo. Thank you, Sean. We got more people in Oregon. They're all furries. Oregon's a strange place. Oregon's always been a strange place. And this is an interesting. Dark Rogue, 20 new membos. Man, we're so excited to meet all our new membo friends. We're going to have an after party here in a minute. Can't wait to see you. Hey, Dark Rogue. Broken profits coming in. Depression is my life. We hope not. Doesn't have to be that way. Angelica, what's up? Bruce Little. PB and M Bear in the house. Emmanuel Mendoza, what's up? Becky C. WYO Studios here. L Driver. Liz W, what's up? FOF Track 717. Lisa Martinez. Wealthy Wisdom. Johnny Boy is here. John Arment. Fanny Francis is here. John Gould. Big. Second word, Nick. Third word, Digger. We got Lucidin is here. Jelena M. All coming in courtesy of Dark Rogue. Thank you, Dark Rogue. And welcome, Big Nick. 360 Awful Shot in the house as our newest membo. Great to have you, 360. Can't wait to see you in the after party. Thanks for joining up. Lilu's here. So if I understand it, crappy when the government is shut down. Trump is pretty much the major player in the house as far as power. So while the punks are away, what exactly could he get away with doing? So that's a great question, Lilu. And it's undefined at the moment. So Trump was actually asked about this morning. So we talked about it this morning. He got asked, he was hanging out with Carney from Canada. And somebody asked him that, like, the longer the shutdown goes on, what are you working on? And he said, well, we've got plans. Like, we got plans coming and they're going to be coming soon. So, you know, I don't know what his plan is going to be or what they're going to be doing, but like we've seen some things happen. So for example, I think Vought canceled, what was it? $2 billion, like canceled. And then he suspended a bunch of other money, like $19 billion to New York and a bunch of other, like another $8 billion, I think, to Chicago for their DEI programs. So there's already precedent for that. Like they think they can suspend some money if they think it's waste, fraud, and abuse. The question is, do they have to unsuspend that money? I don't know. But there's a big tranche of it that has been suspended. There's also some of it that's already been canceled. So, and of course, he's being sued for all of that. So Norm Eisen and the rest of the unions, AFL-CIO, are suing him to say that he can't ultimately fire anybody. So it's an open question. We're going to have a lot of battles about it if the shutdown continues and if some of these decisions are made. But they're going to sue. You can't shrink the government. Who do you think you are? Hey, this old guy. I hate it when work interferes with watcher live streams. Me too, this old guy, but work's important. Great show today, Rob. Appreciate your hard work on our behalf. I come here primarily to maintain my sanity these days. It's great to have you, this old guy. A little secret is I come here also to maintain my own sanity. We help each other through that. So it's great to have good company. Thank you for being here, this old guy, and for being a membo. Sharpie Guy. What's up, Sharpie Guy? I had a friend years ago that told of a video with Graham dancing on a bar top, unclothed, but with his cowboy boots. I don't know. Sharpie Guy says, sounded credible. but I lost touch with him. Ugh. That'd be a great video. If you remember that dude and he has it, let us know. So I bet Lindsay is nervous about his phone being tapped. Perhaps it encourages him to get down to brass tacks, Rob. What do you think are the chances to hold Comey and the like up to account? Well, Comey's indicted. I believe it now more than ever, but no one compares to your analysis, Rob. Tell us what you think, please. So it's a great question. So, I don't know ultimately whether we're going to get like a conviction, I think is probably what you're asking about. I think it's too early to know the details. I think Comey's guilty. My biggest concern on this whole thing with all of these prosecutions is the jurisdiction that they're going to be in. So Comey is getting indicted out of the Eastern District of Virginia, which is great. Still very blue, but it's not the DC district. The DC district is, they won't even indict people for clear crimes. Like the guy who threw us the Subway sandwich at the federal agents, that's assault on a police officer. You do that anywhere in this country, you're going to jail. You're probably charged with a felony if the cop, gets hurt or something. And you go to jail for that. Now, he went to jail, and I think he got charged with a misdemeanor, but they would not indict him for felonies. For a felony. The DC jury, all blue, it's like 94%, I think, is what it went for Kamala in the last 2020. So they may just acquit him. They did it with Michael Sussman. Remember? Michael Sussman was working for Hillary Clinton's lawyers. Same guy who facilitated the scam. John Durham prosecuted him. Couldn't get a conviction. And again, I obviously want a conviction and I want justice, and I think we should be driving for that. But also, I just want them to go through the process and we can see it and they can defend themselves. And they can go through the same process that they pushed President Trump through and a bunch of other really good people who didn't deserve it. So, and if they're, if a jury of their peers exonerates them, all right, we got to deal with that. But I want them to have their shot at justice because nobody's above the law. Hey, Sex to None in the house. Just joined us over on Twitch. Good to see you. SEC2S2 None in the house. Rob, what's up? CF Rob over on Rumble. Says, call the SPCA and let them know about your furry problem. Their furry bites? ICE needs to send agents for treatment from furry bites. Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Humans. Man, I don't know what's going on over there, but hopefully you're not getting bitten by furries because you might catch AIDS or something. All right. So my friends, thank you so much for those comments. Welcome to all of our new members. Great to have you here. And of course, we're going to see our newest members over on the after party. Before we wrap it up, I want to say what's up to our friends on X. James Pepper's over there. What about these people who contacted these senators during this period of time? Can they sue too? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Zelensky's in there or something's going on. I don't know. Elliot. Yeah, here was Jack Smith's form. So Elliot, if you're not following Elliot, he does great legal digging. He's our doc master in the house. Give him a follow. Jack Smith's standard form where he didn't have a witness, right? So he had to re-administer his oath. Jack was totally illegitimate. Neuro D, thanks for sharing the Rumble link. You're amazing. Thanks for modding the fort down for us. Hey, Fred Pedamonte says, here's what's happening at the DC bar. Hey, we're out of toilet paper. Oh, that's perfect. Marsha Blackburn just sent us a letter. Here you go. Gross. But it's about true. They're not going to care. This is from that movie, okay? This is a meme from the movie. And I don't think I've ever seen this movie, but I've seen this meme. Senators are about to face their final, judgment, and they're all upset about it. This dude, who's been hung many times by his own government, he says, first time? Your first time? You've been spied on? That's cute. I remember my first time I had my privacy violated by my government. That's good. Yeah. Haven't forgotten. And welcome to the party, pal. Hey, it's called Tuberville. Rob, you idiot. Learn how to pronounce his name. It's called Tuberville. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, Tuberville. Statius, if they only rage like this over average Americans being spied on, no, they don't care. We're just peasants to them. You're not doing anything important, okay? We can spy on you. Forget your rights. Forget your civil rights. Forget your natural God-given rights. We need the information because you might be a bad person. Don Lane, what jurisdiction would a RICO charge be in? Yeah, great question. So I think ordinarily it's going to be where the kind of like the main components of the conspiracy are, but I think you could make a good argument that's in Florida. So RICO, of course, much broader, but a big portion of like the raid. So if you could tie it to the raid of Mar-a-Lago and that entire prosecution, I think you could bring it in Florida and fight jurisdiction there. If the crux of the acts happen there. So like the crime needs to happen geographically where you're bringing the charges. So like Diddy, for example, RICO case, that was Southern District of New York. So they had a bunch of claims, but they picked that jurisdiction, I think, because he was flying people there. Like he was physically, there's a lot of interface in that geographic region. So I think you can make the case that Florida would be good so that doesn't have to be in DC, but it just depends on the nature of the charges. But Florida would be obviously much better than DC. So great stuff. Great questions, my friends. Thanks for the awesome donos. Thanks for being here and joining us as we go through all of this and more. Mara Rico from K Bean. Great comment. Yeah, hit him. Let's go, baby. All right, so we're going to pause here for this afternoon, my friends. We're going over to our members only after party. YouTube friends, stick around in the chat. We'll drop a link down in there or go over to the main channel homepage, hit refresh, and we'll see you back. Locals friends, of course, just hang tight, and we'll be coming in hot in just a few minutes. But my friends, it's been a beautiful stream. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for subscribing and liking the video and all the things, sharing it with a friend or family member on your way out. And that way we'll see you back here tomorrow. Before we round it out, big thanks to our mods and meme smiths. Thank you to Donut and John, K Bean, Carrie B. We got Neuro D, Janik, and Dog Digger, including our friends Elliot, Just Rhonda, and Geegum Geegum. All modding the fort down for us, keeping things nice and orderly around here. And we appreciate you for going through this journey. But we're not done yet. We're coming back tomorrow. We're going to get into it again. But in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Y Sharp, skin this one in. Thank you, Y Sharp, for the dono. And thank you, Donut, for clipping this one in as we round it out. Says the Dems were not on a mission to turn us into a banana republic. Not at all. No. I think I could be mistaken on this, Y Sharp, but that is just dripping with appropriate sarcasm. And that's exactly right. Their idea of democracy was not about democracy in the traditional frame of it at all. It was about seizing the institutions of power for their revolutionary act of taking the government away from the people and just giving it to their own oligarchs in perpetuity so they can have a one-party state just like California, just like Illinois and these other states that have been commandeered. They wanted that for the whole country. Not going to happen. Y Sharp, thank you for becoming a supporter. We'll see you in the after party coming up right now. And so, my friends, thanks once again for being here. Come on back tomorrow. Can't wait to see you. But until we're back, I hope that you're out there getting after it, making it a great and beautiful night, sleeping very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. something to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through